Hey guys, it's Graham. What's crackin'? This is my review of Residue by Steve Diamond. It's the first novel in the Jack Bishop series. Steve Diamond is a horror author, mostly self-published or independently published. He's also got a collaboration with Larry Correia through Baen Books. It's probably his better known title. Partly because it is a collab with Larry. That's going to be a lot of people's first exposure to him in the wider reader market. But Residue, the Jack Bishop book, is his biggest kind of standalone, like this is what Steve throws out there so people get to know him type book. And I hadn't read it until just today. I've been meaning to get around to it, finally did. And it was pretty cool. I liked it. I'm not sure, where I would put a star rating on it, but it was good and I would recommend it to people. It is a young adult supernatural horror. In fact, I would say that it's superpowers versus supernatural. It's set in this small town in California where everybody works for the branch of local shady corporation X, some interstate or, international conglomerate that deals with all kinds of creepy stuff. There's a genre of films to come out of the 80s that I refer to as kids on bikes. It's usually like this. There's a small town, there's a bunch of kids that hang out together when their parents are at work or busy doing other stuff. They all get around on bicycles. They don't seem to need cell phones to communicate, although this book is set in the age of cell phones, so that's not really a factor. But they run around on bicycles in their small town dealing with a mystery that the adults are either oblivious to or don't believe in. This is kind of like that, although it's not really, kids running around on bikes. These are 16, 17-year-olds. They're in high school, they can drive, they have jobs. Steve Diamond kind of straddling this line between being basic small town kids and having these kind of like adult roles that are farther advanced for their age than you might expect. I've been talking with people over the last couple of years about the young adult genre generally, and I feel like it's mostly written by people in their late 30s who are trying to rewrite their high school years with fewer mistakes and cooler stuff happening to them. That is to say, they write Mary Sue characters and they don't really kind of graduate out of that, and as a result they end up writing characters that are really farther along than their age. 15-year-olds that talk like they're 28 and they've got credit card debt and a job that they hate. I feel like Diamond did a good job of giving them adult things to do, and for the most part they still sound like teenagers, especially more in the case of the male lead, Jack, but there's a female lead named Alex, who at times, she comes off like she's this corporate 32-year-old girl boss, and it was a little bit off-putting. I'll say that much. If I'm going to say anything negative about the book, it's really that. I felt like that one was enough of a reach that whenever she started getting on the phone and giving orders to secret shady security guys and talking about gun practice and stuff, it was like my reaction to it was, why didn't you just write a book with characters in their mid-20s? But I feel like he very clearly wanted to write a high school book, and there was some overlap between characters that were in their late teens and characters in their late 20s and how they would act and what they would do. Maybe that's just me, and the more that I read, the more I realize, like, sometimes when I have something picky to say about a book, it's usually just because it's me and I've read so much that I have a different experience than the vanilla reader might. Anyway, it's good, it's fine. It's just something that stuck out to me. The book kicks off with some kind of big scary monster escaping containment at a local shady factory, and everybody's trying to chase it down, and they fail, and the monster gets away and kills somebody named Daniel Bishop, who we then immediately find out is Jack Bishop's father. And next chapter, Jack is woken up at home by the police, and they're looking for his dad, and Jack is pretty sure that his dad's home. No, he's not home. Suddenly Jack starts to worry, and then news reports come in that a big scary monster of some kind swept through their town, and a couple of people are dead, and they don't find Jack's dad, but he's pretty sure that he's among the dead, and so he's really distraught with all that. In addition, this has left a black mark on the company, and now they might leave that small town, and that would suddenly make everybody there really unemployed, like super out of jobs. So he's dealing with the stress of that, and people are kind of upset about, oh, it was your dad that did this. He was in charge of shady Project X. And as he's trying to navigate all this, he's getting contacted from, shielded cell phone numbers saying, hey, your dad didn't die in some freak accident. Here's a thread. You need to pull on this. You need to go into the headquarters of Secret Shady Corporation X. It's called Helix, but in my head it's Secret Shady Corporation X, and steal these files to know what's going on. And the female lead, Alex, takes an interest in him, and of course she's totally hot and good with a gun, and just to put a little cherry on top, she's also telepathic. And so Jack, has to learn how to kind of shield his thoughts around her, because, he's a 17-year-old boy. He's going to think of her naked. He shouldn't, but there's really not always an off switch for 17-year-old boys. And, especially if somebody's prodding around in your head unbidden, and then you find out that they're prodding around in your head unbidden, it's like, don't think about elephants. Oh, I'm thinking about elephants. It's one of those situations. But Steve Diamond doesn't overplay that in the narrative of the book. There is one moment where explicitly Jack says, like, oh, so I thought about Alex in a bikini. It was specifically because he knew that she was reading his mind, and he did it just to get a reaction out of her, and then after that he didn't. And from there it was handled really well. I thought it was cool to see a male teen character who didn't just go whole hog on the hornies. He really did try to control his emotions and his thoughts, and that really endeared him to Alex as they're working together trying to figure out what went wrong at local corporation. He doesn't know that her dad's involved in it too. He's got to figure out what level of involvement that she's got. Even teenagers work at the local shady corporation branch through some, small town program where it says, like, okay, you can work, but only if you've gone to school for the day. It's one of those things that sounds like it could be a contrivance, or it could be based on some actual pilot program that they have in small towns. I don't know. That kind of goes back to the whole, like, it's a slight reach to depict a program like this, because it really feels like you're just trying to write a mid-20s character who's got a job and bills to pay, but you're trying to write a teenage novel at the same time, and you split the difference. Again, that's just me kind of feeling picky throughout this whole thing. Anyway, they meet some allies along the way. They're trying to figure out what this monster is, and it's going on a killing spree through the town. There is actually a heavy amount of tragedy here, where loved ones start turning up dead, and Jack and Alex have to really put their heads together and go on the offense to figure out what this thing is and trap it. And they reveal things that they'd rather not know along the way. There are a lot of conventional horror elements and conventional kids on bikes, young adult, middle grade elements. There are pieces of this thing that feel familiar, but the way that Steve Diamond puts it together gives it a unique touch and a unique flair. So I think it's pretty good. I'm going to do a more detailed write-up of it on Upstream, but for now I wanted to let you guys know about it. You can find it on Amazon in print or a Kindle ebook. I think Steve has said on the Writer Dojo podcast that he used to have an audiobook out, but the narrator wasn't very good, and it was actually like hindering sales of the audiobook, which in turn they've got data on this. It was affecting other sales, so they pulled that. You've got ebook and print now, so go check out a copy, and if you've read it, go leave a review on Amazon. Do it for Steve. He's a hard-working writer, and I think he's talented. I really liked his collaboration with Larry, and I think this was a strong effort for a standalone, and you should see if you like it too. Thanks for listening. Drive safe. See you out there.